How's it going, guys? The Swiftdeathshotz bringing you a slightly different video today, mainly one on Shaddolls and these guys. So if any of you are a Shaddoll player, you already know why these guys are down, but I'm mainly going to talk about them to people who haven't played Shaddolls, who might play Shaddolls, who are considering playing Shaddolls, about these guys, and really the big debate about them. There is a fair debate. I've been looking on the OCG now for nearly a month at stuff. In particular the last 2 weeks, in particular this week a bit more heavily as well, even more heavily, what's happening in OCG with these guys, what's happening in OCG with Shaddolls, what builds are being made, what you play, what you don't play. For those of you who know your ban list in the OCG, know that Armageddon Knight is at 1 and know that Molotov is at 1, which affects these guys a bit more than it would over here presently. But we basically, I'm going to go through them, go through what I think of each one. In the mirror, in particular, these guys, the pivotal thing for these guys is which one do you play in the mirror, which one's better for the mirror overall, as well as general play. I'm not going to talk about Quillpoth and all that stuff that's coming out in the next Challengers set. I'm leaving it solely for TCG and what we've got coming for the TCG. So that's basically where this is going to reside. So basically we're going to go through one by one in each of them, and its personal qualities and weaknesses, and then these are all my personal opinions, and then my own version of what I will be playing at 3, because you play one of these at 3 mainly, you have to see it. So basically we'll start with the Armageddon Knight. So we'll go through that. The Armageddon Knight basically goes off when it's summoned, period, and sends a dart to the graveyard. Of course, as you know, Shaddolls, they can't miss the timing on their effects when they're sent by card effects to the graveyard, so another one always activates. The pros of this card, the reason it's at 1 in the OCG is because when you play the Shaddoll Fusion, this counts as the dart monster for Winder, who was mid-range, is now Winder. So you basically have plus of this, get a +1, make the fusion as well, and so you've stunned someone first turn. Get another activation of the card you sent, the Shadow card you sent as well, and then you plus off the window for as well. So that's really good. It locks out most first turns. It gives you lots of pluses. This card goes off straight away. Its attack's not too bad either, and it's a warrior. So if you wanted to, but I don't recommend it, you can run Rotis to search for it. Not that it's recommended. It's also a different thing of the spellcaster, so it also allows options for pot of dichotomy in deck 2 if you want to reshuffle some stuff and get some draws, though that card's not often run either. So, but the option's always there. It being a level 4 as well also makes it viable to Xyz with. Again, that's not often done, but it's mainly in for the pitch of the summon and straight into the Shadow fusion monsters. So that's the reason why it's 1. That's the reason why it's at 1, because the ability plus of this was so great in the OCG that it simply had to get a hit. There are plus and minuses. I'll go for the pluses first. So that's the pluses for the Armageddon Knight. The other one is the Kuribandits. The Kuribandits are quite straightforward. It's a dark. So it's more targets for Dark Armed, which people also run, but they have 2 Dark Armed in the OCG where we only have 1. So it's targets for that. It excavates loads and then sends them to the graveyard. So basically, all those effects will be going off. You also tend to get the Shadow Fusion in there, so because you're running 3, so people take that to hand, and then all the other effects activate. So this card speeds up a fairly control and stun deck even more. It does leave you vulnerable, but it's mainly in there for speed. This in particular was ran in the if anyone wants to go look it up it's on YouTube, it's around the Malaysian build which ran free Kuribandit with Cephalons in. 100% this is the card to run. It's worth making a disclaimer that 100% this is the card to run if you're going to run the Cephalon build, simply because it needs monsters in the grave as quickly as possible. So this is the one for the Cephalon build. It's really fast, it gets off effects, it pluses itself normally if a spell trap sent. So there's no reason really to not play this card in certain builds. There are reasons to not play it in the mirror, and that's the main reason why you don't run this. I won't be running this for that reason. So, but yeah, the last one, which is coming out in a lot of the OCG builds at the moment, is triple Mathematician. Mathematician, if you don't know, is when summoned, drops a card, level 4 or lower, so any of the Shaddoll decent stuff. It's a beast, basically. It sends everything but beast, where Armageddon Knight would send the beast as well to the graveyard, and you get that effect. It's also 1500, which is the pivotal bit for the mirror. It's Earth 2, which is also really good for the mirror, and of course you're going to get the draw. So this card is a is a bit weaker than Armageddon Knight in the sense that you can't fusion summon with it, but you still get all the other effects. Plus you get a potential free draw off it as well, which is also really good. The reason you have to pick between the three is because of the mirror, and the mirror is why I am running the 3 Mathematician. I will go into why it's Mathematician last, but I'll go into the others first. Armageddon Knight is really good in general v all matchups, including the mirror. The issue with Armageddon Knight and Kuribandit actually is their dark typing is their strength and also their weakness, particularly in the mirror, because in the mirror you see Super Poly get sided or mained. Some people main Super Poly, and basically these cards hit the field and Super Poly is activated and they get a window for your card. So if it's Kuribandit that hits, that's devastating. That can also automatically stun you out the game if they make a window off your Kuribandit. So that's the reason I don't like Kuribandit. It's superior in the mirror in the sense that if you're playing against say Shaddoll Fat build, which I think you're going to see as the main one, this will go off and there'll be a lot more speed. But then the upside of it being faster is also its downside, in that you can use too many shadow effects too soon, and unless you have a way to reset shadow effects, because you don't tend to make many Exceeds in this deck, that this card can be really dead. Also, after the first turn, this card can be really irrelevant. I've tested it. It's amazing first turn, average after, when fields are set, hands are plussing, things have got moving. You really don't want to see this then, unless you're going to be using it as part of a Shaddoll Fusion from the deck, really. And that's the only thing. If you can't use Shaddoll Fusion from deck, and like you have this and no Shaddoll Fusion, this card's really bad after first, second, third turn. So that's the reason I run it. The other thing is it also leaves you vulnerable to sacrificing it off the board for the effects. And unless you like send a Falcon, a Falco as it's going to be called now, and set it, you're going to be really vulnerable for a whole turn. Particularly if they play Shaddoll Fusion in the meantime and get a window up on board, then this is like, or if they do it on their first turn and you've played Kuribandit, that's really bad for you in that situation. Really, really bad unless you have back row. So yeah, you have to counter. You have to counter then if you have with the fusion. If you have the fusion, you have to counter then with the construct, which is the other synchro. So fusion, sorry, the level 8 one. So it leaves you vulnerable to that. I mean, you have to use a lot up in deck. So that's the reason I don't run Kuribandit. But if you're going to run Cephalon builds, Kuribandit is the best option in my opinion, because of the ability to put more cards in the grave. The Cephalon build works really well with the Kuribandit compared to the other two. So that's the only build I'd run Kuribandit in if I was going to run the Cephalon build. Otherwise, it leaves you down to 2 cards in my opinion. And it's worth saying these are my opinions. This is not factual. So this is what I think. Mathematician and Armageddon Knight. Armageddon Knight is still really good, but the reason I'm going to pick the Mathematician over the Knight, twofold. We talked about Super Poly being a massive thing in the mirror. This card is just so horrible in the mirror. If they Super Poly it, they get basically a free card off your side of the field for nothing. It's just so horrible when that happens, and you don't want to see that happening too much. Also, there's another pivotal thing. Although they both send a card, although Armageddon Knight can send Beast, which is a massive plus for this deck, the Mathematician is the only one of the two that can get over Falco's 1400 defense, and for that reason, in the mirror, use such a strong beater who they have to base, who they can't Super Poly either because it's a Nerf monster. They can't Super Poly this until next set. So this will have to get beaten over or bounced, I believe, bounced with the dragon, or destroyed by flipping the lizard, which is now called Summer Squatch or something like that. So yeah, that's the only other way to get rid of this. So in my opinion, I prefer Mathematician because it beats over the Falco. Both of them are really versatile in the mirror. The Knight can't beat over Falco, but it's really good against everything else. So it's really down to which build you're running. If you're running, like I said, the Cephalon build, I think Bandit or Armageddon Knight are the best two. If you're running standard like Shaddoll Fat build, because we can still run it over here, I mean the TCG, because we haven't had mod top put to 1. Or if you're playing a Light Swarm build, again Bandit's the one for Light Swarm build in my opinion, because it's just sheer milling. But any other build where it's slow, steady, pick up the pace, standard builds with Shadow Facts or anything else where you're going to potentially running a slower version, I think Mathematician, due to the mirror, over Armageddon Knight is superior. The only other issue with Armageddon Knight is it's a 4 which can eke seeds with, but there's loads of 3s in the deck for a Mathematician to eke seeds with, like Hedgehog for instance is a really good one. And you can also synchro for Armades, which is really powerful with the Mathematician as well off the Falco, so that's another reason to do that. So that's why, in my opinion, Mathematician is the best of the 3, and Kuribandit then after in other builds. I just don't see Armageddon Knight, bar the Shaddoll fusion card being a thing, getting played too heavily. All the builds in OCG currently run triple Mathematician, but I assume they'd run Armageddon Knights. I just don't like it in the mirror. That'd be the only reason not to run it, in my opinion. If you're not playing the mirror, or not envisaging playing against Shaddolls in your area for the foreseeable future, take Armageddon Knight, and if you're running a Cephalon build, because that's going to be the best one. But for tournaments, I think Mathematician, because its ability to beat over, they have to beat over it to give you a draw. You still get the send. It can't be super polyed. All those reasons for me make Mathematician the best of the 3. So yeah, that's my opinion on this. Feel free to post what you think. Let me know what you think, guys. Are you going to be playing any of these 3? Are you not going to be playing these 3? You're going to be playing something totally different. I personally, if I was going to play the Cephalon build, would play the Kuribandit. I think all these have versatility. The best thing about this deck with these guys is all of these have versatility. All of these have usage. There isn't one particularly standout bad card, which is why there's so much competition about these guys, about which one's best. But yeah, just purely because I envisage seeing the mirror in my area, going to potentially go into the tournament scene this year and the next season, so I'll be running the Mathematician solely because of those reasons. If I didn't think I could be seeing any Shaddolls in the next 2 months, I probably would play the Armageddon Knight. It's true, because I don't have to worry about super poly effects and stuff, but it's just too horrible to know that you're going to get super polyed and not have a backup short of Falco to put on board. So for me, it's Mathematician all the time. So yeah, that's why I'll be running that. I'm also going to be running the Felice for the moment, purely because Mathematician also off that gives me another light target in the graveyard, or 1 for Shadow Fusion if it's dead in hand, and it's also an auto Black Rose if it's in deck. So for me, it's a no-brainer to run this for the moment. So yeah, that's everything with the Shaddolls. Let me know what you think about this video. Which one of you will you be playing? I'll be trying to bring some more Shaddoll content in the next few weeks. Hopefully I should have it all, fingers crossed, but in the next 2-3 weeks. So I'll let you know how it gets on. There won't be any zombie content potentially for a while. I've put up a list, so go look for that. So hats, it's called Zombie Hats, so if you want to look at that, go look at that. But yeah, that's everything for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video and hope it was a bit more informative for everyone. I'll bring some more content soon. That's Swiftdeathshotz out.